going on, everybody? Welcome back. So, John Cleese, is no doubt a comedy legend. I have very, very fond memories of the first time I saw Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
Oh, man, I love that movie. The Black Knight was played by none other than John himself. While John Cleese has some, I'd say questionable and sometimes infuriating political rhetoric, and comments about a certain 45th president, the man is a big proponent in the perpetual fight for free speech, as you can see here. I may not agree with his trash political opinions, but, that's fine, as long as we are fighting, for the same thing. People are allowed to disagree and still find common ground. Something millions of people seem to have forgotten over the past 6 years. Comedy legend John Cleese upsets the left-wing outrage mob after announcing new show on anti-woke GB News channel. Yeah, which he tends to do. And it's always fun to see. Now, I know absolutely nothing about this GB News channel. I had to look it up and discovered that it's simply a free-to-air television and radio news channel in the UK and Ireland. And apparently it's anti-woke, which, isn't always the most informative description, but that works for me. Again, I know nothing about this channel, but it seems to piss a lot of people on the left off because it focuses on free speech. And in truly unremarkable fashion, because of that, it is labeled by them as a right-wing channel. Oh no, the evil free speech advocates are coming. Hide the children! So anyway, the prospect that John will be allowed to say anything he wants on his new show, they really don't like that. Monty Python and Fawlty Towers star John Cleese has drawn the ire of the left-wing outrage mob after announcing that he will be the host of an as of yet unnamed free speech show on the anti-woke GB News channel set to air later this year. The announcement was actually made by Cleese himself during an appearance on BBC Radio 4's Today Show, wherein the renowned comedian asserted, "The nice thing about talking to the GB News audience is that they may not be used to hearing the sort of things I'll be saying. The only thing is, the BBC won't come to me and say, 'Would you like to have some one-hour shows?'" He elaborated. "And if they did, I would say, 'Not on your Nelly,' because I wouldn't get 5 minutes into the first show before I'd been cancelled or censored." Sorry, that accent was atrocious. As soon as the Monty Python actor made those comments, Today host Amol Rajan, seemingly moving to abruptly end their interview, reminded the comedian that their network gave him an uncensored platform 5 full minutes, something that Cleese would later claim was not true. In a statement issued on Monday, the 10th of October, GB News announced that they had confirmed today that actor, comedian, writer, and producer John Cleese will host a new series on the channel next year. The program will feature John in conversation with his choice of guests on a wide range of areas that interest him. Mr. Cleese revealed the news this morning in an interview with journalist... Okay, we already know that. Like John himself, it will be far from predictable. GB News confirmed today that actor-comedian... Okay, how many times is that going to be said? As per the network's official statement, Cleese's new program for the B executive produced by noted political satirist, journalist, and current host of GB News' aptly named Free Speech Nation show, Andrew Doyle. John will have complete creative freedom to have the conversations he wants to have with the people who interest him most, said Doyle, before going on to declare that the upcoming show, like John himself, it will be far from predictable. Again, for the second time. Unsurprisingly, the woke mob were quick to take issue with Cleese's latest career move, taking to Twitter to express their disappointment in fairly predictable fashion. Siri, what's the best way to destroy a legacy? Okay. I'm sure John Cleese's legacy will be just fine. And here's another genius. So sorry to hear John Cleese is finding it so difficult to get work these days. Still, at least he's found a comedy channel, even if hardly anyone watches it. Yeah, I'm sure he's not finding it difficult. The man has had a storied career spanning decades and decades. You know, he's fucking 82 years old. You know, I can't imagine he's out there frantically trying to find work thinking, oh God, what am I going to do? And it keeps going. Well, they wouldn't allow him on the BBC, Harry says, according to John Cleese on the BBC this morning. Well, yeah, he literally said he wouldn't want to do a show on the BBC if they asked him. You know, he wants to be able to express himself unimpeded. You know, he's become a big part of the free speech fight because as a comedian, you know, the absolute worst thing that can happen to you is being barred from saying whatever you want. I mean, in comedy, real comedy, it's supposed to be anything goes. You know, because they're just jokes. You know, that's why he's so rightfully passionate about pushing back. Comedy and, you know, laughter is a crucial part of life. And there's nothing, you know, appetizing about censored comedy. Oh, and here's one from John himself. I was amused that the moment I really criticized the BBC yesterday, the interview was brought to a rapid end. Before we had talked about the things we had planned to talk about 10 minutes earlier. That's not really surprising. You know, they're gonna cowardly do that. You know, they're afraid of getting fired. So do you believe you'll never be asked back on the BBC after your GB News show goes out? Or is it just content that gets canceled in your view, rather than the person? Genuine question. It's content, John says. There's a massive amount of important information that gets censored both in TV and in the press. In my new show, I'll be talking about a lot of it. You should be prepared to be shocked. Yeah, well, you know, while I don't wholly agree with him there have been plenty of times where a person was completely canceled. You know, I'm not sure why he hasn't noticed that. Still, though, it's a very good point. Well, you're going to be in such fantastic company on GB News. That's the level you've chosen for yourself. I thought guilt by association went out with communism. Why don't you watch the first couple of programs? You're a bit like Mary Whitehouse trying to get Life of Brian canceled before they'd even seen the script. You know, guilt by association most definitely hasn't gone out. You know, no way, not with these people. Damn well should, though. It's absolute insanity. I see the splitters are out today. In contrast, I wish you success, and I look forward to watching it. I appreciate your open-mindedness, Harry, but beware the wokes. They won't like it. Like all people who believe they are purer than they actually are, they are authoritarians, which is why all the best comedians make fun of them. Boom! Yeah. Now that's a damn good take right there. I can't tell you how many times I've said stuff like that. John replies to him directly. I suggest you try to grasp the idea of irony. It's a way of making fun of ideas by putting stupid ones in the mouths of idiots. Remember, the meaning of words comes from their context. This is very difficult for the literal-minded. Yep. You know, irony in context is completely lost on the wokies. You know, they're like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, but, you know, unlike him, they're about as funny as a plank of wood. Yeah. So, anyway, you know, it just keeps going, as you would expect. You know, these endless Twitter battles could be considered a massive waste of time, but, you know, I'll always say it's important to push back against the mob. You know, comedy is so damn important. Free speech is. And I'm glad to know John Cleese is out there at 82 years old, you know, taking it to the mob in defense of it. You know, after this whole thing, you know, I think I'm going to have to go and find where I can stream, you know, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That movie is so hilarious. And it's been way too long since I've watched it. Well, that's it. John Cleese, Free Speech Chad. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and please consider subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.